So I had this Bible scripture out of Acts, and Swami thinks it's out of the 8th chapter of Acts, but Beth doesn't know. It's talking about living in the way of God. And we talk about Jesus being our way shower, who shows us the way to live. And this week we've had this marvelous visit to the United States from Pope Francis. And weren't we all impressed? And is he not a way shower? And I think the title of my talk is Be a Way Maker. And I got that title from somebody else's talk. I saw a talk that Chris Chenoweth did probably 20 years ago. And he said, be a way maker versus a wave maker. And when I had this week, something happened. I ended up having a talk that wasn't connected to anything. And so I remembered that. Be a way maker. And I found this talk, I saw this talk when I was looking for stories, and the story that he used in that talk was the story about the Brooklyn Bridge that I told 2 or 3 weeks ago, about the man who wanted to build the Brooklyn Bridge, and it was nobody said it could be done. And then he convinced his son, an engineer, and they were going to build it, and they started working on it, and there was this tragic accident, and the father was killed, and the son was terribly injured, and he couldn't move. He could move one finger, and he, over the years, worked out a code with his wife where he tapped a code out with one finger. And over the years, he told her, he tapped out how to build the Brooklyn Bridge. And it so struck me that man, George, his name was George, I can't remember his last name, started with an R. What? Roblink? Was a way maker. He made the way. By extraordinary means, he made the way for the Brooklyn Bridge. And I thought about that along with Pope Francis's visit and how he is a model. He's modeling for us to be love in action. And I keep seeing you fan. And do you guys have the...
I got it on my phone.
Would you bump it down a notch? R2. If you stood here, you'd see him going like this back there. So, and it's a little bit disconcerting because I'm sitting here dripping myself. Yeah. So, he was calling us up higher as a nation. He was calling our leaders up higher. He was calling the world leaders up higher when he went to the United Nations. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't know how to make that big of a difference. I want to make a difference, but I don't know how. It reminds me of that story I've told you a couple of times about the chicken and the pig that were walking down the road, and they saw some hungry children, and they wanted to do something for them, and the chicken said, well, why don't we give them eggs and bacon? And the pig said, well, it's fine on your part, but that's pretty committed on my part. And so I heard Pope Francis calling us to be in whole hog, to go in all the way. And it struck me, I've been so moved by the plight of the immigrants. And someone told me that they're looking for churches to sponsor immigrant families. And I'm thinking, can Unity of Melbourne do that? I don't know. Can we do that? Do we want to do that? See, it's not what I want, it's what do we all want. And what I know is in this picture of being a way maker, some of you have really stepped up to be way makers. Some of you have really stepped up to be way makers. We wouldn't be in this building without way makers. I mean, look at what our musicians are dealing with. I mean, they're supposed to stand like this and be creative and emotional. And they do a fine job. They do a fine job. They do a fine job. And we're sitting in these little rooms. I mean, you know, I don't think any of us expected to, quite thought about what it would be like to be, we're kind of scrunched. Ask the board members as they try to take up the offering and get around those corners and things. But our children, now they're spread out. Yes. We have made a way. We have made a way. And that first Sunday we were here and we had 16 3 to 5-year-olds in the room next door. We could have never handled 16 3 to 5-year-olds. So I know that we're being way makers. And so in our life we come across people who are way makers and we come across people who are wave makers. Have you ever had a wave maker in your life? Mm-hmm. And what is that person's favorite word to say? No. No.
Can't.
Yeah, can't.
Won't.
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?
My way.
My way. Well, now, I like my way. Oh, the other person. We hear people all the time criticize. You know, I heard someone as they came down the hall said, "It doesn't look like anything happened this week."
Oof.
And I thought, you know, sometimes what happens isn't visible.
Right.
It's not real visible. But I promise you, the air conditioning people have been here working every day. They get here about 6:30 in the morning and work till about 3:30. And, you know, I never thought it would take that much time to move things and rearrange things. And right now we're waiting on some pieces to come in. And then the sprinkler people have to move this. You know, the ceiling height's changing in some places, so they have to move some sprinkler heads up and down. And some lines have to be moved. It's happening. Mm-hmm. And yet when I heard that it doesn't look like anything happening, I started to take it personally. I mean, I wanted to say, well, you should have been here. And so what I recognize, even more importantly, is that sometimes I'm a wave maker. Because in the process of moving into this building, and getting acclimated, people are asking, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do that? What about this? And I'm saying, no. Well, let me think about it. Because in the past, I've been accused of not saying no enough. And frankly, we don't exactly know what it's going to look like until it looks like it. We have to publish, we have to get ready for publication our events in advance. And so right now I'm getting ready to send off out to everybody our November events. And here it is, the end of September. And so I asked Gerald, can we do a Thanksgiving potluck. And it was like looking at a deer in the headlights. And for those of you who don't know what's going on, Gerald's working with the subcontractors and keeping all the work going. He said, Beth, you do know we're going on vacation next week. I said, yes. He said, I don't know that I'd want you to publish it. Why don't we wait and see in October where we are? We can really tell. And I thought, well, yeah, we can do a Thanksgiving potluck without telling the world.
Just told the world.
Well, it might be at my house. It comes down to, do we have a sink? And do we?
In my garden.
That's right. We could do it in Stoney's garden. There are places to do a potluck. So, being a way maker versus a wave maker. And I'm sitting here and my mind is going through all of this stuff. I had all these little stories that are just completely gone. Don't know where they went. I know that they'll come back at 11:30. But I have a favorite story. A story that whenever I read it, I'm touched. And it's a story that demonstrates how to go from being a wave maker to a way maker. That process from going from a wave maker to a way maker depends on us knowing that we are interconnected, that we're one with each other. It depends on us loving each other and loving ourselves and having respect and compassion for ourselves and everybody else. That's what takes us from wave maker to way maker. And so this story is about Jean Thompson. And Jean Thompson is a 5th grade teacher. And at the beginning of the year, she walks in, and there is her class. And it's a beautiful class. And there, on one of the back rows, is a little boy. And he's less than clean. Unkempt was the word they used. And he is sullen. He is withdrawn. He comes in late. His hair's not combed. And and some days when she walks by him, as the year goes by, he kind of smells bad. He doesn't smell so pretty. And so, when the teacher gets the records for all the children and she goes through them as she can, she begins going through all the students and she put Teddy, she just kept putting him to the back. And it got to where, that when she was grading his papers, that she just enjoyed putting those red X's and putting an F on his paper. It was just an unpleasant thing. If she had all these students except him, it'd be a perfect class. And so one day she looks at his file folder, and his 2nd grade teacher says, Teddy is a delightful student. He is a joy to have. He is engaged, he's happy, and other children like him. 3rd grade teacher says, Teddy is a great student, but he is somewhat disturbed because of his mother's illness. He's becoming more and more withdrawn. 5th grade teacher said, Teddy started out the year so well, but his mother died at Christmas time, and he has become withdrawn. I'm so concerned about one of my best students. Jean Thompson read that, and oh my gosh. It gave her a little bit of a fright. Touched her. She had been looking at this child all wrong. She had not seen any future. She had not seen any redeeming qualities in this child. But it was getting close to the holidays, and she didn't have any time to do anything. And the holidays come, and all the children bring in packages, and the teacher, and they were all beautifully wrapped packages. And Teddy brought in something in a brown paper bag with a piece of Scotch tape on it. And so, very purposefully, she opened his in the middle of all the gifts. And when she pulled out this little bracelet that had some rhinestones missing, some of the kids started laughing. And there was a bottle that had just a little bit of perfume. And so she purposely put some behind her ears and said, "Oh, this smells so good." As the children left that day, Teddy stayed after. And he said, "I know my mom would love to see you wear her bracelet, and you smell just like her." Can you imagine the tears she was trying to hold back? And so over the Christmas holidays, she really got that message, that Christmas message of giving, and she really thought about how ungiving she had been. She thought about the fact that she had had favorites in the class, that she had not been fair to her students. She had not given 100% to 100% of the students. And so after Christmas vacation, she started taking time with Teddy, and pretty soon he was caught up. And he was making good grades. And at the end of the year, she was sorry to see him go. And as he left her room that year, he hugged her and he said, "Oh, Miss Thompson, you're my favorite teacher. I hate to leave." And he went on to 6th grade, and she got a note from him at the end of the year. "Miss Thompson, you're still my favorite teacher. Thank you." And some years passed, and she got another note. And it said, "Miss Thompson, it's been hard, but I passed and I was valedictorian. Thank you for being such a great teacher. I'm going to get to go to college on a scholarship because you were such a great teacher in my life." And 4 years later, she got another note that she'd graduated. He'd graduated from college. And some years passed, and she received a note from him, and it said, "Dear Miss Thompson, you are still my favorite teacher. My name is a little longer now. It's Teddy Stoddard, MD." And that spring, she got another note, and it was a wedding invitation. And in with the wedding invitation was a little slip of paper, and it said, "Miss Thompson, my dad died this last year. Would you please come and sit where my mom would have sat, because you are still my favorite teacher." Jean Thompson went from being a wave maker to becoming a way maker. And Teddy Stoddard went on to do great things in his life. And Miss Thompson went on to be the best teacher she could be, because she no longer let outward appearances determine how she accepted or how she respected the children in her class. She was a teacher that was there for every child in the class. And so you and I in our lives get a choice. We get to choose between being wave makers and being way makers. And I don't know how you are called to be a way maker. Our first song that we sang, "We Are the Ones." We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We want world peace. We would like to heal world hunger. We would like to see all of the immigrants have places to live and jobs. We would like everyone to have the chances and the choices that we have. And I feel that we're called to be way makers. And I'm looking, I can't make the determination by myself. And in fact, the board can't make the determination by itself. For us to be way makers, everybody has to step up and say, this is where I want to be a way maker. This is how I want to be a way maker. Right now, one of the ways we're doing it is food. And, you know, it feels good when they send us letters and say we've given several hundred pounds of food. I don't know the other ways that we're going to be a way maker. In the past, we've been way makers because we've built 5 homes for Habitat. Maybe it's time for us to get involved with that again. I don't know. But what I do know is that this week, somewhere in your life, you're going to have that choice to be in front of somebody, to have an opinion, and you're going to get called. And I hope you hear that clear voice inside that says, be a way maker. Be a way maker. Put that judgment aside. Be a way maker. As we go on vacation, I'm looking forward to being a way maker to everybody I meet. And I invite you to do the same. Thank you.